What's going on, Ambitious Vet? Welcome to episode number 56 of the Ambitious Vet Show with Army Combat Medic Veteran and Membership Director of Wisconsin Veteran Chambers of Commerce, Curtis Schmitt Jr. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet. We believe if you desire more, you have to become more. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Combat Veteran turned passion-driven entrepreneur. On this show, I dive into the trenches with today's top military veteran thought leaders and influencers who know what it takes to not only pay the bills after the military, but really make an impact. You're going to hear their stories, their failures, and even their golden grenades to empower you to execute on what matters most in your life right now. Are you an ambitious veteran that's 3 to 6 years out of the uniform? Or maybe you're just a veteran that's about to get out of the uniform and you want to start rubbing shoulders with veterans that not only believe that if you desire more, you got to become more, but they actually come together and share resources, share connections, share resources and tools really to just narrow the gap in executing their next mission in life. If that sounds like something you would like to learn more about, go and check out the Ambitious Vet Tribe on Facebook. We have over 600 ambitious veterans in the trenches together with one mission and one end goal in mind, and that is how do we work together to execute that next mission in life. The link will be in the show notes below. Look forward to seeing you there.
Hey, this is Steven, host of Knucklehead Podcast, and you're listening to the Ambitious Vet Podcast with Chris Hoffman.
Ambitious Vet, just want to first and foremost just thank you for joining in for episode number 56. As you can tell, the audio quality for this one is a little off. My Yeti mic chose to poop on me before we actually started recording this, and me and my better half Maggie are about to leave first thing tomorrow at 6 a.m. to go on vacation for 10 days. Talk about just adapting and overcoming. So there's no excuses. I know the audio isn't as well as it usually is, but let's not make it an excuse to not hear the golden grenades that you're about to hear from the guest on this show. I mean, it absolutely blew me away how open-hearted this ambitious vet got inside of this interview, and how just this interview will open up and show you that if you go and you chase all the trophies to prove to the world that you're good enough, still that leads to an empty road at the end. And also, how do you discover something transformative in those dark moments of life that you find yourself just seeking achievement versus fulfillment? I really want you to listen for that. Also, a key golden grenade that Curtis Schmitt Jr. shares inside this interview around how to just really start figuring out what matters most to you and how to define yourself and not allow your work to define you. I find that a lot of veterans that I coach personally as well over here at Vet Training Coaching is that veterans, when they get out, they just want to fill that first void of stability, and they start, you guys and me included when I first got out, we identify through the work that we do, and ultimately all we want to do is pay the bills. So guys, you're going to hear some great golden grenades that are going to allow you to get ahead of life's landmines. This man has tons of trophies in his trophy case. I mean, just to kind of tell you who Curtis Schmitt Jr. is, he was a combat medic vet. He's a veteran advocate. He's a community activist and servant leader. He's an awardee of the Veteran Small Business Champion of the Year Award, a President's Club recipient, a National Achieving Banker, and a lifelong learner, which you'll kind of get that vibe from him in the interview. He is the membership director for the Wisconsin Veteran Chamber of Commerce, leads their business accelerator program called the Command Post, and he leads a team of volunteers with that, and was previously a vice president of investments, a small business specialist, and a private client banker at JP Morgan Chase and Company. Now, he just recently was awarded by the governor of Wisconsin the Board of Veteran Affairs, so representing the 1st Congressional District, was elected to serve as the vice chair for the board. So this man is doing a ton of impactful stuff out there in the legislation area of veteran affairs, guys. I'm excited for you that's listening to this to take notes. And if you're running, you're going to want to pull out your app and document some of these golden grenades, because this man can sum up some of life's biggest problems in one or two sentences, and he has done the work. So I'm excited to go ahead and dive into the trenches with Curtis L. Schmitt Jr.
Curtis, man, are you there?
Hey, brother, I'm here, man. Happy to be here.
Hey, man, we're excited to hear some of those golden grenades, man. You're spreading out there in Wisconsin, just not global yet.
I think we're working on it, right?
Yeah, we are, man. Always. So, brother, fill the gaps of that introduction. Let us know a little bit about who you are as a person.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, to be exact, and really I went into the Army right after high school back in 2001. I ended up deploying with the 10th Mountain Division as a combat medic, as you mentioned, and served in Afghanistan, served in Iraq, served in Korea, and then came back here and served in Fort Bliss for a little bit, and then ultimately went back into the reserves and came back to Wisconsin and have been here ever since. I struggled pretty bad with PTSD when I left active duty, struggled really bad with the readjustment disorder, failed out of college my first go round, just really couldn't get my act together. And then, 2011 comes around and JP Morgan is reaching out to folks who are in the military. And I started out as a banker and just worked my way up. And really at that point, I think is when my transition really became successful ultimately.
Wow. No, that's awesome, brother. I love how you're the example of you don't have to have it all figured out. There's some people that come onto the show and they're just like, you've got a plan 12 months before, 6 months out and stuff like that. And some of us don't have the time to get out perfect, right? And it's good to hear,
Right.
brother, that even though you weren't proactive, I mean, you actually still figured it out. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah. So, brother, you tapped into a little bit, but I mean, what was like, tell us a little about your transitional story. If you got like a concrete story or an example you want to share, but like, what was your transition like and how did you start finding traction?
Yeah. So, I think, so as a medic, I think when you exit active duty, you leave with a skill set that is extremely advanced, but you come back to the civilian sector and it means nothing ultimately, right? I mean, you can drive an ambulance, give oxygen, and that's about it. Whereas overseas, we're doing crazy things while getting shot at, doing fun stuff. And it's like, you come back here and you struggle, right? I mean, my first class that I had to go into at the university was cultural and diversity. And I'm like, are you kidding me? See, I have to take a cultural diversity class. I've been across the globe. This doesn't seem to make much sense to me, And then right after cultural diversity was anatomy and physiology. So it was like, this is just great. Everything that, I feel I know pretty well. So needless to say, I went in when I was 17. I got out of active duty, I think when I was 22. And I didn't want to live at home, so I went and lived in the dorms. That was probably the worst mistake I could ever make. All I wanted to do at that point was continue the party. And it just didn't go well for me, you know what I mean? And so I had to transition at some point, and I left. I left the university, went into sales because one of my fraternity brothers was like, dude, Verizon is hiring, come work for us. And so I did, and I was extremely successful, won their president's club and did all that good stuff. And that's when JP Morgan came around and was like, hey, we see that you're successful in sales. Why not come try this out? And that was honestly probably the most pivotal moment career-wise that I've had since last year when I took the position I'm in now. But it took a long time. And frankly, I'm sure most folks still deal with some of the things that they've still remember and still go through and just can't let go, right? So there's still that aspect of things, but the transition was really, really difficult. I didn't know about the VA benefits piece. I didn't know to apply. I didn't know how to get a lot of that stuff in the works. And frankly, as a medic, think about this, right? As a medic, you self-treat, right, when you're in. So the diagnosis that you need when you're out here to get some of the VA benefits, as a medic, you just don't have because you didn't diagnose yourself, right? You just self-treated. So it's just been a really interesting struggle, man.
Yeah, man. It sounds like it. It sounds like it. It sounds like for you, I mean, you kind of like just took opportunity as it came, and you ultimately just like was figuring out what stuck. And it just sounds like you excelled at no matter what you did. But I want to kind of dive into that. I mean, what had you, and no matter what you kind of dabbled into, what was it about you, or what could you say for any ambitious vet that's out there that's either not liking their career path that they're in, or they feel stuck inside their current business that they're trying to expand? How do they start looking to get better in their roles and stuff like that?
Well, I think that you hit it right on the head. I mean, the minute that they really decide that they want to get better, it's at that point, right, where your training kicks in, right? Your instincts kick in, and you just have to act at that point, right? I mean, I know that sometimes anxiety and different things can immobilize us, but as military veterans, we understand what it's like to have somebody, kind of rile us up really quick and wake us up in the middle of the night and doing crazy stuff. So we just know to hop up and act, right? And at that point, really having a mentor in place is really crucial. I had Tim Farrell, who is now the CEO of I think the U.S. Nonprofit something, I forget what it's called, to be honest, but great guy. He was with Operation Homefront, so he was giving away, free homes to wounded vets and their families. And at that point, I was really able to kind of lean on him and say, look, man, this is what I'm really dealing with, and I don't know how to make that pivot quite yet. And he was like, yeah, you do. He was like, you did it all the time in the military. Now you just have to, for lack of a better phrase, quit bitching up and just do it, right? And when that happened, everything just kind of sunk in, and I just immediately acted. And JP Morgan really kind of allowed me to, one, excel at the job that I was in, which really comes down to building relationships and doing what's in the best interest of other folks. But then secondly, they allowed me to help create a business resource group for the state of Wisconsin. So I brought a veterans business resource group to the state. I helped them form their military and veteran affairs piece and create a mentorship program and do a lot of different things here in the local area that, frankly, I felt like I was missing, right? That sense of purpose, that sense of mission, feeling like I'm a part of something bigger than myself. And that's what I was missing, those first initial years. So if somebody's really struggling with that, I think the key is identifying that sense of purpose for yourself and then acting on it, right? And knowing that you need to move.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many other questions I could ask about that. And ambitious vets, if you're listening to this on the podcast or watching this live or replay, if you have questions or if you want clarification on anything Curtis is dropping in here, either email myself, I can connect you with Curtis, or just comment below and let us get you clear on how to execute that next mission out of uniform. So, brother, what was your biggest failure that you had when you got out of uniform? What did you learn about it?
Yeah, so I think my biggest failure was, man, there were so many. Honestly, I think my biggest failure was letting myself go. Not remaining disciplined and not remaining true to who I am. It's like, I think that it's very easy to make excuses, right, and not fulfill that sense of purpose that you have within yourself, or that kind of sense of pride. And I feel like when we lose that identity that we had in the military and we come out and we haven't found ourselves yet, it's very easy to just let yourself go. And I remember in the middle of doing extremely well, I was sitting in the VA parking lot and I had a gun to my head and I was ready to take my own life. And I called my wife and I blamed her for everything. And I told her, said, you're the reason that I want to do this. I was like, tell our boys that, I'm just not going to be here. I wanted to give them more. And I didn't feel like I could walk anymore. I didn't feel like I could do much anymore. And I was ready to give up. And that, mind you, so it's 2019 now. That was July of 2018. That was less than a year ago. And that was the lowest point that I've ever been at, even after being ultra successful. And it still didn't mean much. Frankly, I made a transition in August of last year to work for the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And that, being around other folks that understand what it is that we've gone through, being around military spouses, being around folks that truly care about our community was extremely imperative for my success and my ability to move forward and I think truly grasp all the things that I could come and do and add value in. So I guess that's a long-winded way of saying my biggest failure was ultimately just not living up to my full potential.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of, including myself, can relate to that. That's listening to this, watching this, whatever. I mean, that I think we've all hit that lid where we're making money, right? Our first thing is stability. Whenever we get out, we want to figure out how to do that. But I mean, it's just like still like where's the life satisfaction kind of come in? And it sounds for one, I'm extremely grateful that you didn't choose to do it, because now the state of Wisconsin, the world have this amazing story to inspire them into action, right? But brother, I mean, it sounds like you learned a lot from it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've talked to many guys away from that step, and I never once thought that I was going to be in that stage myself. And when I was, honestly, nothing else mattered, and as folks sit back and they relate to that, I think at the end of the day, what ended up getting me through everything was the brotherhood and the camaraderie, and then my family, right? I mean, my family, I blame them for my lack of happiness and my lack of, I guess, purpose, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I was looking at everything incorrectly, right? Like I was blaming my wife for my lack of success in just internal happiness. But at the end of the day, she was the sole reason that I was able to be successful professionally, right? So just perspectives had to be changed. And I really just had to understand myself again and find that identity. And I was really able to do that after that moment.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. I mean, I just appreciate you being so authentic and raw and transparent, brother. I mean, this is the stuff that really makes a difference, right, man? There's too many veterans that are getting out, just sharing like, oh, I was extremely successful, so much like I look good. And it's the stuff that looks bad in the moment that actually looks amazing and extraordinary, that makes a lasting impact with veterans. So, brother, I just really appreciate you, just opening your heart to us, man, because it really does make a difference. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So, brother, what do you see as the biggest problem for veterans that are desiring more out of the uniform? What do you think is the biggest thing that stops them? What's their greatest challenge towards becoming more out of the uniform?
I think at the end of the day, I think it's themselves. I think that we have a tendency, being in the military, to strive for success always, right? And if we hit a level of success, then we're reaching for the next point, and then the next point, and then the next point. And at some point in time, you have to understand that, one, you're good enough for yourself. You're not having to prove that you should get the next rank or the next promotion or the next school or any of that stuff. You really have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? And you're taking care of your family, and you're doing what is most important to you, and proving to yourself every day that you're worth living and you're worth it. That can be so self-defeating, right? And I find myself, still to this day, always wanting to achieve more. But now for me, it's really just wanting to achieve more so I can make a larger impact. And I was able to transition that whole like self-importance piece to really just wanting to become important to the right people to help them succeed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%, brother. So like versus trying to please the whole world, you found a unique community that you wanted to make a difference with, and you just went all in. You threw all your marbles into one jar.
Hands down. I mean, that's what we do, right? When we volunteer.
All or nothing, my man. I love it. I love it. So, brother, I mean, you wrote a brilliant blog on LinkedIn, man. I think it's called You're Not Broken or We're Not Broken, something like that. And I was reading it last night preparing for this interview. And I want to hear how you, I mean, you've touched on it a little bit, but I mean, where did you find the desire to break out of I'm not broken, the stigma that us as veterans have to live into when we first get out?
I think in the position that I'm in now, I have the unique kind of opportunity to deal with veteran business owners, but then also veteran friendly businesses who are really trying to hire and retain veterans. The problem is that so many folks try to, they'll say that they want to hire veterans. Obviously, there's tax incentives. There's a lot of incentives, when it comes to looking good in the community, like you're doing the right thing. But not truly understanding the veteran transition and what that looks like can often transfer into somebody thinking that the veteran has like this altered mental state that is causing them to be damaged goods, so to speak, right? And we all bring strengths and weaknesses to the table, right? And when employers often look at a veteran, we don't want them to see that we're, Captain so-and-so, right? We're not Captain Hero. We were somebody who went and served our country, and now we're trying to serve the community and the organization that we're now serving in. So it's like, no, we're not damaged. We have a lot of experience. We have a lot of really solid things that we can bring to the table. It's time for them to embrace that and not always look at us as like I said, as damaged goods. So it just got really frustrating because yes, there's some veterans that come back that have mental health issues. There's some veterans that come back that have physical ailments. And there's some veterans that struggle with the transition. But it's our responsibility as fellow veterans, and it's the greater overall community's responsibility to jump in and help these folks succeed. I mean, we gave up a lot of what we had in our, I'll say like my, ending teenage, early 20s to serve my country. I'm not expecting handouts when I get back, but I am expecting folks to ride with me, right? And be by my side as I plow through whatever it is I need to plow through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think our wings are stronger when we have people to, have more feathers. Like I think there's like a analogy that feathers make the wings stronger or something like that. What are the feathers that you need to equip your wings with so you can fly higher and sustain your flight? So I love that. I love that, brother. So, I mean, you're blowing up in Wisconsin, man. You're winning awards and stuff like that. You're also helping people learn more about business acumen and stuff like that, and the Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce. Can you touch on inside the tribe here and the ambitious vet community? Why is it important to join like a Chamber of Commerce?
I think so. So the unique thing about a Veterans Chamber of Commerce, at the end of the day, is that they focus on the veteran community and the military family community specifically, right? So a typical Chamber of Commerce is going to bring folks together, give them networking opportunities, and allow them to do what they do. Really, what we do at the end of the day, our mission is to provide and promote economic opportunity for veterans and military families. And how we do that is by empowering veteran-friendly businesses to do the right thing and understand the veteran culture and the transition. We help veteran-owned businesses identify sources of capital. I mean, my executive director, Saul Newton, he always jokes that QuickBooks isn't taught in basic training, right? I mean, so you get out and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, we have a solution. We have the resources. So it's a little bit different, right? I liken it to folks coming back and joining their new unit. Like if you want to be a veteran entrepreneur, we have a way to help you become successful, and that's by putting you around other successful veteran entrepreneurs and allowing you to network, allowing you to ask questions, and allowing you to have that sense of brotherhood and that sense of purpose again. And that's the unique thing, and I think the unique value proposition that we bring to the table versus other chambers of commerce. And so I think that, in my opinion, is why if your state doesn't have a veteran chamber of commerce, you should get off your ass and create one. Two, if it does, you need to get engaged and make it successful, because that's what we're here to do. That's why you have this podcast. That's why you have so many folks that follow, and that's why you have this tribe. It's to make people successful. So get engaged and do the right thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. I mean, that's just the ambitious vets are used to a straight up message, man. I mean, it really is. It's either you're going to step up or step back. And, I mean, we are spearheading impact out of the uniform. So you're speaking the right language inside of here, Curtis, and I appreciate it. So, brother, we have a tradition here. I mean, what are 3 golden grenades that you can drop in right now here live with us and inside the podcast that can make immediate impact for any ambitious vet out there looking to become more out of the uniform?
Looking to become more out of the uniform?
To achieve more. Maybe it's income, maybe it's occupation prestige, or maybe it's just like, you like a year and a half ago, just increasing happiness or life satisfaction. What would be like 3 golden nuggets, golden grenades that you could provide?
Yeah, I would say the first and foremost is to identify what's ultimately important to you. Because if it's family, then you know what you need to do, right? You don't spend 60, 70 hours a week working if your family needs quality time and they need leadership, right? I mean, you're there with them. If it's money, then you know what you have to do. You got to grind it out. You got to find a position where you can excel, and you just have to beat a dead horse until the numbers. It's a numbers game, right? And if it's a quality of life, then you got to find some sort of workforce integration, work-life integration, and figure out how to make it impactful. I think the second thing would be find your way to identifying your own sense of purpose outside of any other entity that can define you as a position or as a person. So what I mean by that is that don't allow your work to define you. You go in and you define your work and how it's going to ultimately affect your life and your quality of life. And then I think the third thing would be get around the folks that you're comfortable with the most and ask them how you can get better in helping them. Ask them how you can help at the end of the day, because I firmly believe that the more that you give of yourself and the less that you take in payment is ultimately the key to success in the long run when it comes to impactful relationships.
Boom. Golden grenade right there. If you guys are watching live right now inside the tribe, if you didn't catch that golden grenade, go back and replay, watch this, and drop it in the comments below for everyone to read that. That is huge. You've got to provide more value than you take, and I promise you'll have an abundance of opportunity out there in life. So that's huge. Curtis, man, where can people go to either follow you, connect with you, or if they're in Wisconsin, how can they get to learn more about what you're doing out there in Wisconsin, man? Because you're blowing up out there.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I mean, just, LinkedIn is probably the quickest way to get a hold of me. So just LinkedIn, and then just look me up, Curtis L. Schmitt Jr. Look me up on Facebook, same name. And then, at the end of the day, I'm always open for a phone call, a text, anything. So just find me. I'll shoot you my number. I'll shoot you my email address. I'm always open to having communications. I think one of the things that's the most annoying to me about LinkedIn in general, and not even about LinkedIn, but as folks become more self-important, they think that it's okay to not help, and they have to be ultra selective into who they talk to. At the end of the day, I'm here to help whomever I can. So if I can help you, if I can provide advice, I can connect you somewhere or anything, I'm here. So the other place you can check us out is the wiveteranschamber.org, and that's just WI, so Whiskey India, veteranschamber.org. And that will tell you all the amazing things that we're doing at the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And then ultimately, if you're in Wisconsin and you want to come to a Board of Veteran Affairs meeting, I think our next one is like August 22nd. It's open to the public. And you can see some of the things that we're doing from an advocacy standpoint to impact the lives of veterans and military families here in Wisconsin.
That's huge, brother. Well, Curtis, man, from everyone here inside the Ambitious Vet Tribe, I just want to thank you for who you are, man. I think I speak for everyone to just be grateful that you didn't choose to take your life a year and a half ago, and that you're out here showing that even at the lowest of lows, if you just keep going in the trenches, man, ultimately life works out. So I just appreciate who you are for our community, brother. It's amazing.
You know, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to connect with folks and to have a voice. I mean, honestly, it's folks like you that have created something impactful that allow us to expand upon our outreach. And so I thank you, man.
Yeah, appreciate that, brother. It's right here, man, in the heart. So
Well, there you have it, Ambitious Vet. There's episode number 56 of the Ambitious Vet Show with Curtis Schmitt Jr. I appreciate you bearing with us with the audio differences with this episode, and we're committed to definitely getting this adjusted by the next episode after me and Maggie come back from our 10-day vacation. But guys, if you're listening to this and you just got one golden grenade that you saw new rooms for action to take in your life, your business, and just to elevate whatever it is for your income, your occupation, prestige, or even maybe your life satisfaction, go ahead and share that on social media. Tag me and Curtis Schmitt Jr. inside of that post to just allow us to know that we are making the difference out there inside the veteran community to help you guys narrow that gap in the next mission in your life. If you haven't already, go check out the Ambitious Vet Tribe. We're in 10 countries. Now this podcast just expanded out into Finland and United Kingdom. So big shout out to everyone out there that just started listening to this episode. Hello from the United States. We're excited to be bringing in the golden grenades inside of your ears. And guys, if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, review the podcast. Feedback is what allows anything to improve in life, and we want to improve right in the trenches with you. So meet us in the middle, and let's get better together. Sound good? Lastly, I already know if you're listening to this, you're warrior made. But to become passion driven, utilize just one golden grenade you heard today, and you'll find your life being more meaningful. Let's go get it.